Good afternoon and welcome to Straight Talk. This is Catherine Tyson, your host, and this is your Drive at 5 show. And this is Success 101, your Thursday Success 101 show. And you know what we do on Thursdays? We highlight young Caymanians that are making waves, that are doing great things in our community. So important for us to do that because, we hear all the stories of Caymanians that don't want to work, or they're lazy, or you can't depend on them, and you name it, you'll hear that foolishness out there. I know one thing that's a lie, because they sure can depend on me, because I show up on my 3-4 jobs to do what I have to do. So what I love about this show and just the whole concept of this show is to highlight, people that are out there doing great things, young Caymanian people that we are ushering in to the future. And I mean that to the bottom of my heart, that is what we need to do as a community. We need to do that as mature people, older people in the professional world, not hold on and not want, be the gatekeeper. And that's in politics too. I'm talking about everything, but to just let go, ease up, because home somewhere and take care of yourself and retire and enjoy the fruits of your labor. And you want your country to be in good hands, don't you? Like, that's the main question here. And so if the answer to that is yes, then absolutely we need to be a part of that. So that's what we try to do on Thursdays with our Success 101 show, is we talk to young Caymanians that are just amazing, and they are creating their lives and creating the life that they want to live and living their destiny. And it doesn't have to look like any one thing in particular. It can look like anything that you want it to look like. As long as it's success, you are doing it, you are enjoying it, and it is making a difference in the world, it's making a difference in the community, then more power to you. So thank you so much for joining us this afternoon on the Thursday Success 101 show. Of course, you can call at 943-3700 so we can hear from you, and to just hear your thoughts about anything. If you had a question or a comment, we would love to hear from you. This is your Drive at 5 show. Thank you so much for tuning in this afternoon. So it was International Women's Day on Monday, and in that theme, it's a wonderful theme, and it's actually still International Women's month of great women. So today is not only Thursday Success 101, a successful Caymanian, but it's a successful young Caymanian woman that is doing amazing things. And I can't wait for you guys to hear her story. This year's theme for the International Women's Day was Choose to Challenge. And it's a challenged world, is an alert world. Individually, we're all responsible for our own thoughts and actions all day, every day. We can all choose to challenge and call out gender bias and inequality. We can all choose to seek out and celebrate women's achievements. Collectively, we can all help create an inclusive world. From challenge comes change. So let's all choose to challenge. And sometimes people do not understand about that challenge, and they'll say, why are women fighting to be men? Women are not fighting to be men. Women, at least for me, I have no reason to fight to be a man, but to be respected and to be treated fairly, and to not be called hun and darling, sweet and baby, and all those kind of things by someone that's not my significant other. To ask? No, it's not. So these are some of the things that we really need to be talking about a lot more. So thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Time, the UCCI will be having their commencement ceremony. It's going to be on Saturday, the 24th of April, at 7:30 p.m. at the Sir Basil Johnson Hall. The application deadline is tomorrow, Friday, the 12th of March, and you can go to www.ucci.edu.ky/graduation. So if you are ready to graduate, or you are near graduation, you have all your credits or whatever that is, and you want to be on April the 21st, because it's no longer at the ending of the year, it's more during the spring now, to be in line with other universities in other countries. you need to go ahead and register for that, okay? And if you don't by tomorrow, you're going to miss this one, and the other one will be next year, okay? So just letting you know, www.ucci.edu.ky/graduation, okay? So tell people that need to know that. I've been announcing that for a while now, so today will be the last day that we announce that, okay? And also wanted to just announce again for a gentleman that needs some assistance with medical expenses. He had triple bypass. It affected his kidneys negatively and would like to obtain stem cell therapy to regenerate their function, and it's not covered by health insurance. So if you're interested in donating, the name of the individual is Edison Solomon, and it's Cayman National Bank, and the number for the account is 012-62902. That's Cayman National Bank, 012-62902, Edison Solomon. Listen, if you feel led to give, every mickle make a muckle. Okay? So just help one cocoa filled basket. You know, the Jamaican people know exactly what I'm talking about, right? If you feel led to help, do go ahead and help out Mr. Edison at this time. That's what we're here to do, help each other out. We are a community, and this is the time when we need to pull together, right? Okay, so let me get to my guest. I mean, I don't even know to tell you, how to really introduce this young lady. It's so much. I'm so thrilled to just have her here this afternoon. So I think maybe she's going to help us introduce herself a little bit. Giselah Ebanks, who is a pilot for Cayman Airways and an inspiration to female aviators around the world. Actually, you are one of the first, we'll call it's a second-ish, but we're going to say good afternoon to you first. Good afternoon, Giselah.
Good afternoon, Catherine. Thank you for having me.
And thank you so much for being here. Okay, so Giselah, how old were you when you became a pilot?
So I got my pilot's license when I was 18. So just basically fresh out of high school. That's usually the time when people decide that they want to go to college and they have everything set up. I was like, Mom, this is what I want to do. I just want to go to do the flying thing. So immediately after high school, I did my research, found a flight school, signed up for it, got the visa, and then I was off.
I mean, that's, first of all, I'm still at 18. You got me at hello, right? I'm still at 18. So, because I'm still like trying to figure out how someone could even think about knowing what they want to do that early and completing it that early. So tell us, because I want to know that journey. So how long did you know that you wanted to do that? And then how long did that take for you to actually obtain that license?
Well, surprisingly, I didn't want to be a pilot at the very beginning. That was not my aspiration. I actually wanted to be a doctor. So I ended up taking biology, chemistry, physics, all the sciences, and then it wasn't until like my last year of high school, I was in biology class and I noticed the Cayman Airways plane fly over. So I was, like, this looks pretty cool. And they just got their new paint scheme now, which is basically what they're sporting right now with those beautiful tails. So from there, I was like, okay, well, this looks pretty interesting, like how something of that size could be flying and something like that. So I said, you know what, I'm just really interested and I just want to figure out what's going on. What's this all about? It looks fun. I want to do this. So that's basically how I got started in that department right there. Then from there, it was talking to my mom about it and trying to convince her and letting her know that, okay, this isn't a fluke. This isn't something that, teenagers go through a little stage or whatnot. I'm like, okay, I know I wanted to be a doctor and I'm switching. I'm going over to the whole pilot thing. But trust me, this is like what I want to do. So I attribute my success to this, my parents actually supporting me and letting me know that you can do it. Go ahead. We'll support you. And we'll also support you financially as well, too.
Okay. And that's very important. That is, something that we can't take lightly at all, because that financial support is super, super important. So you finished high school at what age then?
So 18.
So you finished high school at 18 and then you went on to flight school. Where did you go?
So it seems pretty far. A lot of people go to Florida, but I decided I wanted to go to San Diego. At the time, the cost of training for being a pilot, everything, all the certificates included, was significantly cheaper than what they were offering in Florida. And then you also have a different scenery out there. It's mountainous. You got the coastline. It's
Beautiful.
really beautiful out there. So I was like, well, it's pretty far from Cayman. It's on the west coast of the United States, but I'll go ahead and give it a shot.
Okay.
So
All right. And so you actually so you said you finished high school not at 18. You finished high school.
Oh, I'm sorry, 17.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you finished high school at 17
Mhm.
and then you went straight away.
Mhm.
So it was a year,
Mhm.
right? And so that, I guess that would have been pretty intensive. How was that? Just getting in there. Were people there your age?
There was quite a few people my age. Not a lot of females when I went to the school as well too, which obviously is no big surprise right there, because obviously there's not a lot of female pilots. But it was quite an experience. I had good instructors, and even the students that were there as well too. We all kind of formed a small little alliance, because it was people around the age of 18 and also up to maybe 23. I want to say was the oldest that I saw there at the time. So we all had some stuff in common.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So how has it been for you? So now I guess you'd say you've been flying over, I guess, 10 years, of course.
11
Yeah.
this year. 11 this year. Yeah,
Wow, 11 years. So how has that journey been for you? That first year, what did that first year look like?
The first
An
year.
18-year-old thinking that they can fly a
The
plane.
first year. Oh, I could write a book on that one.
Right?
The first year, maybe the first couple of days, I thought, okay, I got this in the bag. It wasn't too bad. And then as we started to progress with the private pilot training, because it goes in stages, you go from private pilot to instrument, then commercial single, then commercial multi. The very first stumbling block was private pilot. So I wasn't used to like a very busy airspace. There was a lot of people talking on the radio. I don't know if anyone's ever noticed. Sometimes on a Saturday coming into Cayman before COVID, we'd have United, Delta, and all those other ones getting in. Yeah, it's pretty busy. But then it's the same kind of busyness, but with smaller aircraft. So one of the things that I found that I had the hardest time dealing with was mic fright.
Okay.
I would key the mic to call tower to let them know I'm going to do something, and my mind would just go blank. So that took a lot of even just, reinforcing the bravery in me. I'd have to kind of go back to the dorm and just pretty much like practice keying the mic and getting over that little bit of fear of talking on the radio as well too, which is
Okay.
ironic because I'm doing this today.
Yeah. Okay. So that is something that you do pretty
Mhm.
regularly.
Mhm.
It's all, it always is so funny. You'll hear like comedic jokes about pilots announcements and you're like, I don't know what you just said, but I hope that it means you're safely going to take me somewhere. So, and I actually have become more and more afraid of flying as time has gone on, because I've been on a plane since I was 5 years old. Like my mom has always been traveling, and the older that I get, the more I don't know why that is, right? But that is it's just like a road, like a regular road for you, right?
Mhm.
Tell us about that. Like, yeah. What does that look like from your eyes?
So, like, basically, how you'd have a road map that, you're driving from West Bay to Georgetown, or for tourists that are coming and they get the little road map and they'll say, like, oh, you have to cross Camana Bay and you have to cross Galleria Plaza, that kind of thing. We have the similar kind of thing in aviation, but we call them instrument charts, and we have them called airways. So they're specific skyways, if you want to call it that we tune our aircraft to pick up these individual radio stations that also help navigate the aircraft as well. So we also have GPS coordinates. So it's such an interesting topic. People just think that we just get in the sky and we're just kind of like, okay, there's north, we're going north.
Right.
But there's like 17 different steps that you got to do just to get the airplane to get you to that destination safely.
Right.
And that's part of the training as well too, that they actually do instill in you from the private pilot portion up until the larger aircraft as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And obviously some of the things that you're not just depending on what you see, you're depending on somebody that's also directing you as well, right?
Right.
So that's pretty important.
Yeah, that's the other game player as well too, is air traffic control. So they're basically the eyes for us as well, where we can't see anything. They can look out for us and they sequence us, because you don't have the opportunity to see another aircraft behind you or another aircraft that was in front of you. So it's their job to make sure that they sequence you guys in safely to land at the airport. So it's all a big like orchestra basically.
Are you ever afraid?
Afraid of what?
I don't know. Are you ever like me when I get on that plane and you guys do a little dip? I start, oh man, I just know it's time now,
It's it's stuff that you get used to. I would say I'm past the fear portion right now.
It's your job, right?
Exactly. I do it for a living. So you do stuff and you be kind of, I guess, kind of get numb to it. I guess like for some people as well too, they may be anxious to see blood, but the doctor's like, I can work in this all day.
Right.
So it's basically that kind of thing that we've come to as well too, where turbulence doesn't really phase us. We respect it. We respect weather, but it's nothing that would make us panic, if that's the proper word to say.
Okay, so I'm gonna just turn this conversation just a little bit, just turn the wheels a little bit,
Sure.
just for my comfort.
Go right ahead.
So you just mentioned turbulence, and turbulence is one thing. When I feel that in the plane, I'm like, we're going down. Can you explain to us? Maybe the listening audience probably thinks the same thing that I think. Like, what is it about turbulence that we shouldn't worry about?
Well, a good pilot, and then I say that loosely as well too, because it all depends on the airline and the training that the persons have. I can vouch and say Cayman Airways is really good training, so we're like top notch. There's a little shameless plug right there. But usually what happens in the sky is you get these little pockets of air, and because that air is like ruffled and it's not smooth flowing, when that airplane is flying through it, of course you're going to get that little jolt. So think of it as a boat on the water. And like when that boat is tearing down 7 Mile Beach, you're going to see those waves that come off the boat behind it. Similar concept. Anything that's behind that boat on 7 Mile Beach, you're going to feel it. It's the same concept also in the sky. Okay. So when we get thunderstorms as well too, thunderstorms also have that lifting action with the wind as well too. So it creates an undisturbed area of air. So you're also going to get a little turbulence from that. So oftentimes we get the chance to like warn you guys in advance and we turn the seatbelt sign on and let you know that please be seated. We have a little bit of pocket of turbulence to go through.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's also again part of the training as well. And we're also trained to avoid those areas as much as we can. Sometimes you can't, but we try to make it as safe as we can for you.
Okay. So now, did you also learn in your training what things to be worried about?
Not really per say worry, but we had areas of focus that you'd probably pay more attention to. So single engine aspects. So the airplane can fly on one engine basically. So if you have an airplane, that has two engines, one on each side, a lot of people think, oh, it can't fly. It really can. Okay. So we do focus more on the training that's involved with having an aircraft fly on one engine, what it feels like in terms of rudder control, the airplane control as well too. There's also different scenarios. Sometimes in the flight attendants on the safety briefing will say sometimes if you lose pressurization, the masts fall from the ceiling. That's another thing we call depressurization, and we also train for that as well too. So not really aspects to be worried about, but there are things that we do frequently in our training just to keep sharp on in the event that it does happen. So it's always at the back of our mind that it should or it could happen, but we're trained to mitigate that and once again get you guys underground safely.
All right, so maybe that's why you don't have a lot of worry, because you kind of know what's going on.
It's the training that kind of backs it up as well.
The mechanics and stuff. Mm-hmm. So what kind of relationship do you have to have with your people that are in the air with you?
We all work as closely and as best and professionally as we can. I know it's a little different if you're working with Steve at a bank and you can't stand Steve because he's in the cubicle next to you. You can, afford to ignore Steve for today because you're like, I'm just not having you right now. Right, we're not going to talk about this. Whereas in aviation, you have to put most of your differences aside. If it's a person that you like, that attending at your flight with, so you just have to push those personal differences behind and just get out of that thought process and just focus on the task at hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you don't have the luxury of being mad with somebody. You've got to work together.
We have to.
You got to bring people safely on the ground. Yeah.
We don't get to do the whole timeout box thing.
Right. Not in this box.
Not in this box.
Okay. And how important then are the rest of, is the rest of your team, like the flight attendants, and are you guys all you're functioning together, or everybody's doing their own thing?
Yeah. A lot of people will see the pilot thing in this, think, okay, well, that's all it is to it, just someone who flies an airplane. But in reality, it's the ramp control personnel. It's the people who load your bags. It's the people who also service the aircraft, clean the toilets, and the flight attendants. And we do our best to all work with each other, simply because we're at the front of the airplane. We don't know what's going on at the back. So the flight attendants are the ones that would call us up and say, hey, so and so is going on, or this is going on, or we can't get the coffee pot on, or something like that, you know?
Okay.
And we have to, you know, work together and try to pull off everything as we need to. And same thing with the ramp control guys as well too. We're in constant communication with them. They need to tell us where to park sometimes. They watch our wings because we don't have rear view cameras on our airplane. So they're the ones when they're bringing us into park. They're watching the wings, making sure they're not hitting anything. So it's an amazing industry, basically. It's not just limited to the pilot thing. And you'd be so surprised how everything just kind of falls into place.
All right. Now you talked about parking, right? And I'm thinking about the different times that I've traveled in the different airports and the different landings. Like, are they different? Like, what's the experience that you have, say, landing in Cayman versus landing in Texas or in New York or wherever?
Like, we'll do New York because that's my favorite destination.
Okay, all right.
So the scenery in itself, just going into New York, is something different. You know, Cayman, I'm not dogging on Cayman. Cayman's my home. I love here. But it's just blue water and it's kind of flat. When you're going into New York, you've got building and it's just beautiful. The lights are on because we usually get there at night as well too, right? So it has a beautiful landscape. And of course, they have larger runways over there as well too, larger and longer. So that means it also attracts larger aircraft as well too. So it's for someone who's like in love with aviation. You get there and you're just like, wow, this airplane is like 10 times the size of my airplane. And it's just like you're almost like a kid in a candy store, just looking at these other airplanes coming in. You're looking at these persons getting off the airplane. You're like, all you guys came off of that? It's like a small city coming off of these planes. So, and it's a little different, obviously, from Cayman because we don't even have jetways here. So you come off, it's a different scenario, but you know, it's part of the job. It's one of the things I love about being a pilot as well too, is the change of scenery and that you're just not stagnant in one place all the time.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, I had the opportunity to go to Thailand in 2018 when my daughter was in Miss Universe.
How was that?
Oh, the entire thing was just an experience, but we took like 3 different planes, you know, to just stopped in different places, you know, on the way to Thailand, London, and I think we were in Japan. We stopped in Tokyo. There was like a couple of things, but we took Emirates, and that was like, I don't know if it was 3 floors or something. It was crazy.
You're like probably in the 380. That is a sweet aircraft.
Do you know how to fly that one?
I know that's actually Airbus, so that's a different type from what we have here. Okay. But if given the opportunity to, and then someone said, hey, let me give you the instruction manual on how to fly this airplane, I could do it because I have a pilot license. Yeah.
And it will be very different, right?
Totally different. Yeah.
But is it with something like that? Is that one cockpit also, or is it the different floors also?
Same cockpit, but they just have different floors of luxury for you lovely passengers.
Oh yeah, so it's really nice. I thought it was just insane. I thought
it's like a cruise ship.
How is this all? And I think that about cruise ships, right? How is this all in one thing in the air? Mm-hmm. So it was very, very interesting, and I just thought about it and just how small we are, right? Because I think when you live in Cayman and especially if you've not really gone anywhere, you think Cayman is it, you think Cayman is so huge. Mm-hmm. And when you learn like about the rest of the world, you're just like, oh my goodness, mm-hmm. like I'm just this little dot, mm-hmm. like literally this little dot in this entire amazing world, mm-hmm. right? So I thought that's very interesting. But yeah, obviously landing, what I would say too, I love Cayman Airways and I love all of the pilots on Cayman Airways. I don't know, like you might have flown a plane that I was on. I've traveled quite a bit, but I think when you guys land in Cayman, it's almost like you do it with your eyes closed. Like you just know that runway.
It's a repetition.
Yeah, I find because sometimes I'll take American or and I feel like we're just flung down, just
shot right down the sky, right?
Yeah, and it's a bigger plane too, right? So, but the precision that I always feel in Cayman Airways, I'm like, our pilots are something, you know. But I also realize it's because you know your runway so very well, and your machine is a little different too.
Yeah.
Is that
It's
a good observation?
not that 100% different from American. Now, the American sometimes flies their Airbus in, and it's almost about the same size as Cayman Airways, except for the larger Airbus aircraft. And then they have the whole 737, which is pretty much about the same size as our current fleet right now.
Okay.
I'm just gonna chalk that up to skill.
Yeah, well,
right?
that's what it is,
Because
right?
yeah, we practice, we take pride, like super pride, in making sure that you guys have like the smoothest landings, and just not even here. If you're flying with us to Tampa or Miami or whatnot, we always try to put that out there as well too. So that's kind of like our selling point,
Yeah.
smooth landings, rum punch, island vacation.
I think enough rum punch. It might feel like a smooth landing, even if it isn't. I'm seeing a couple of little quotes that you had here, because in the second part of the show, we're going to talk a little bit about your experience as a woman, and just kind of how some things have impacted you, and vice versa. I'm going to read this little quote that I found somewhere for you. It's a long time ago as well. There's something magnificent about flying home in the afternoon when we're getting the sunset. And I think, I can't believe I'm actually getting paid for this. Yeah.
I still feel that same way.
Still feel that way.
Still do.
Yeah. So it's like, it's surreal, right?
It's an amazing experience. I don't even know how to describe it in full detail, but it's something like when you're sitting up at front of the airplane, you get that whole panoramic view, because the windshield spreads across, and you just get that amazing sunset. Because I know, like, if you're sitting on the beach, Cayman has some amazing sunsets, especially this time of the year with the whole weather systems that are moving through. But when you're in the front and you have like a front row seat and you're sitting a couple thousand of feet above in the sky as well too, it's an amazing experience.
Yeah.
With the clouds and everything. Oh, love it.
Yeah. So yeah, and for that, I think I always want to kind of bring that out with my guests on Thursday, Success 101, because we've talked to real estate people, we've talked to counselors, we've talked to doctors, we've talked to, just so many entrepreneurs, just, you name it. And they've always said that they love their work so much that it doesn't feel like work. And I think that's the goal. Isn't that like the ultimate goal? To do something that you love and it just feel normal. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And that's what it feels like. So you definitely, you're cut out for this. This is what you trained for. This is what you've been doing for the last 11 years. So yeah, you're a part of that. You're a part of the greats. So we're going to come back and talk a little bit more with you and talk about what it's like to be in that man's world, kind of, sort of. Okay. You guys stay tuned. We will be back with more. We are speaking with Miss Giselah Ebanks, who is a pilot with Cayman Airways, and she is a little thing too. You won't believe it. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss a thing.
943-3700. More straight talk to come on Star 927.
Ruby, stop steaming. Error. Ruby's Cayman Island.
Welcome back to Straight.
And welcome back to Straight Talk. This is your Drive at 5 show, and this is Catherine Tyson, your host. And you are listening to Success 101. This is our Thursday show, where I bring an amazing young Caymanian and to share with you so that we can really, just know what's happening out there, but just trust that we are out there doing great things. And that is just awesome as a country. And I'm very, very proud of my guest this afternoon, Miss Giselah Ebanks, who is a pilot for Cayman Airways. And she's out there just doing great things in this, I would say, kind of male-dominated world. I might be wrong, but let's find out. Giselah, is it a male-dominated world?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
No questions about it. Yes,
All
it
right.
is.
So how many women right now work with you?
So I'm the only one on the 737 right now. So it's just me, doing the thing up there. But we also have 2 other female pilots as well too. Both of them are on the Twin Otter. So that's a good step as well.
Okay, that's good. Now, do you take the opportunity to go speak to the schools? Like, are you talking to people about, you can do this? Like, girls, we can do this?
Yeah, I've had Georgetown Primary reach out to me. John A. Cumber, where I actually went to when I was a small little thing. Go John A. Cumber. They actually had me come out, and I did a little small presentation to the little children as well too, and try to influence them from a young age, let them know that girls can do things, especially. Yeah.
Okay, so all right, I don't want to, it's kind of interesting to talk about cost, but you got a scholarship, yes?
Kind of,
sort of.
If we want to call it that,
Yeah,
it's a scholarship that I'm paying back right now via the bank with Cayman National.
That's not
student loan.
That's not a scholarship. That's a student loan. Let's be clear.
It's a student loan.
Let's be clear, friend.
I'm in debt.
Let's be clear, friend. That's not a scholarship. Okay, scholarship is money that is given to you and you don't have to pay for it. That is what, for sure. Okay. But what about in terms of support then? So what would you say, how expensive would you say it was then for you to do that?
It was pretty expensive. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie about that. It is not like $25,000. If you have a good savings account set up and your parents put something aside for you, or you have something set aside, or you have a piece of land, or you have 3 cows that you want to sell, or something like that to be able to afford flight school, it might be an option. I know things have changed from when I went. Obviously, it was a little cheaper than it is now, all with the rising costs of fuel and other expenses as well too. So it's actually a little different from when I went. But even when I went 11 years ago, it was pretty costly.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm still paying back a student loan as well too right now. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, and that's a good thing, I guess, about student loans, that it's a way for it to be affordable, at least, right? So that's good. So, because what I always try to say to young people especially is, don't let anything get in your way. Don't let cost be the thing that stands between you and your dream. Right. Like if we got to look under rocks, and if you come from the right family, you come from our family that will support you, they will help you look under those rocks.
Exactly.
And they will help you find,
sell the Civic.
Well, you might have to sell a couple of Civics for flight school. But yeah, you're right. Like, take the bus if you need to, but because it's only temporary, isn't it?
Right.
It's temporary, and it
does pay off in the long run.
It does pay off, and it's going to be amazing. So are you living that amazing life?
We're kind of a few years away from the amazing life. That's when the student loan is paid off, and then it's like you don't have to worry too much on, oh crap, I need to pay this month, or I'm going to be in trouble or whatnot. But in the back of it, despite all the student loan stuff, I'm getting to do something that I did set out to do. That was my passion, and I am proud and I am pleased that I actually went ahead, pushed myself despite what the circumstances may have been, and that's what I'm doing now. So I can actually say I'm content.
All right. So where have you gone? Like, what are the perks of being a pilot?
All right. Let's see.
Well, there's probably a work part of where you've gone, and then there's a you part, personal part. So talk about both. That's fine.
All right. So for work, obviously I fly to all the Cayman Airways destinations. So before COVID, it was New York, it was Denver, Miami. So we had a little bit of a route network right there. obviously with the change of scenery, and you actually had the opportunity to go have a little mini vacation at those locations as well, to find your own aircraft up there, and to spend 2-3 days, obviously not as working pilot, but you have the opportunity to go on a reduced fare as well too with Cayman Airways. So that's one of the perks that we have.
Okay.
The other perk I would want to say is it was still work oriented. Well, we had to go to Seattle to go pick up our second 737-8 series, the little fancy one that we have right now. I had the opportunity to spend like 4 days in Seattle. And so that was nice as well too. Obviously it was for work, but we had some downtime, so we got to explore. We had to get out to go to Pike Marketplace, do some sightseeing. So, and that's something that I probably wouldn't have been able to experience had I not been a pilot for Cayman Airways.
My aunt lives in Tacoma, outside of Seattle.
Tacoma is amazingly beautiful.
I can imagine. I can imagine. And the time of year that you went must have been not too cold.
It was cold. We went in February. So yeah, it was snowy, but at the same time we struck gold, and it was just one of those days where it was really clear. It was really cold, but just really clear. So we got to see Mount Rainier. So it was beautiful.
Goodness.
Yeah.
That must have been beautiful. And any pictures being taken as you're landing? Anybody can do that? Are you busy working? What's happening? How does that work?
Well, if we have someone sitting in the jump seat, which is another smaller seat that's in the flight deck, our airplane is designed to have observers in there. So usually if we have someone sitting in the jump seat, they can get the really cool shots. Or sometimes if a colleague of mine is flying in and I'm sitting in the jump seat, sometimes I can get some cool shots. While I'm physically flying the airplane, not so much, no. So you have to take the sights in with your eyes. So that's your only digital camera right there.
Right. So how do you get in that jump seat?
Well, you have to be a company employee.
Okay. And
you also have to get prior approval from the captain of the flight that day. Usually flying out of the United States, never really flying in, because you have to be an actual member or a working crew member flying into the United States. That's their law.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. All right. So there are certain stipulations for that. So not just anybody can wander in there.
No.
In that jump seat. Okay. Well, now I gotta take that off my list now. That's not on my bucket list anymore.
Dang it.
I was like, maybe I should put a good word in for me or something. All right. So how has the pandemic affected what you do every day then, and what does your everyday kind of look like now?
Well, we went from working like maybe I want to say 25 flights a day combined with Cayman Express to Twin Otter and then our regular Jets flights to like about 80 hours. That's how much I would work a month. It doesn't sound like a lot, but then you'd like factor in it's a New York flight, then it's a Denver turn or whatever it is. It does add up. But we went from just being super busy to all of a sudden like nothing.
Okay.
So when we first closed our borders to tourists and whatnot, I had like 2 months where I was just sitting down and I wasn't doing anything. I was worried. I'm like, okay, is it going to let up now? Am I going to lose my job? Is things going to get better? It has to get better. And then you also kind of find that it's almost like you lose your sense of purpose, because I've been spending so much time flying, and then all of a sudden I'm a housewife.
Right.
So it's like, okay, well then what am I supposed to do now? Just fold clothes all day, sweep the floor? What's going on here? So that took some while to adjust.
Yeah. Your husband's probably like, I'm finally getting a cooked meal.
He's like, no, now she's home. Now she gets to cook and bake and stuff like that. We gained 10 pounds from that as well too, just by cooking and stuff.
Yeah.
But we certainly are looking forward to our borders opening and getting a little bit of normalcy back into our lives as well too. I mean, just not from the aspect of tourists coming in, but also for people who work at the airport. It's like their livelihood all of a sudden has just come to a complete stop as well. So yeah.
So you were flying like how many times in one day, like before COVID?
Usually once a day.
Okay.
Yeah, just usually once a day. Sometimes we do these things where it's called like a 4-leg day. So we would do either a flight to Kingston, then you get back to Grand Cayman, and then from Grand Cayman to Tampa, and then back. So we call those things 4-leg days. So it's 2 flights, but you call it 4 legs because you'd fly up, fly back, that kind of thing.
Okay.
But it's just like once a day, really and truly.
So the norm would be, so once a day would look like you take one trip and then you stay there or something?
Well, if it's in New York overnight, then it would be the one trip. You'd sleep in the hotel, and then the following morning you're back in
Okay.
Cayman. So it's nothing
Okay.
more than like a 10-hour layover, if at that. If it was a Miami flight, it's basically a turn. So we'd get there, hour and 45 on the ground, and you're back to Cayman
And
as well.
come back. So
Yeah.
that's kind of 2 flights for us,
Yeah.
but that's once for you.
Yeah, that's like we call it one
So you
flight for the day.
you
Yeah.
just turn around. Okay. And so so the preparation for those flights would be the same as the 4-leg.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's just that you're doing it another time.
Okay. How is it being one of so few females in this male-dominated world in the Cayman Islands? Since it is International Women's Month, it was International Women's Day on Monday, and I went to the International Women's Brunch, Women's Day brunch.
It was lovely, wasn't it?
It was amazing. It was with the Family Resource Center. It was amazing, and that's where I got to actually, hear you, and then come to you and shamelessly say hi. You got to come on my show. Oh my gosh, where have you been the last 11 years of my life? Yeah, and I know some of the topic basically was about gender bias and choose to challenge, and hearing you speak, and I'm listening to you speak right now. I hope that one day you will be trying to represent us on a national level. I'm telling you, I don't know if you've got any thoughts of that, but that's all right.
It's crossed my mind.
Yeah. No, it sounds like some of the answers that you gave me. I was like, this woman needs to be a politician for real. Because I'm like, are you worried about? No, there are areas of focus. I'm not worried. So yeah, no, definitely just being a leader, and I can see that. But what are some of the how does that look like? What are some of the challenges that you faced and continue to face? And what are some of the changes that you think have been made? And how are you choosing to challenge?
Well, surprisingly, when I first started, I thought the problem was going to be with the male colleagues, like the captains on the fleet, because, they're male. And all of a sudden, they're being forced to having to fly with a female. I was wrong. I'm actually lucky that I haven't really experienced any gender bias working with them. They've been pretty much respectful with me, and it's been a good working environment for most of my male colleagues. At the beginning, the shocker for me was the passengers. And like what I said at my brunch, one of the biggest things is with the Twin Otter, when I first started there, the Twin Otter has an open cockpit. So when people would come on the plane, I could hear them pass remarks on, oh, well, this is a female, or we're going to die today. Or, it'd be like a day that it was really windy, and it was like, I'm not getting on this flight if she's up in there.
Oh, wow.
So it's things that I heard, and it's usually from women. It wasn't even so much men, like the male passengers, it was women. And they'd get on and they'd say stuff, and for a while that actually negatively impacted me. Like I had to go home and be like, Mom, what is going on? Like, do I answer these people because I really wanted to?
And you can't.
And I can't. So I talked to my mom about it, and she's like, no, what you need to do is show them that you have the right to be there.
Yeah.
So then I pretty much from there, I started setting little mini goals for myself.
Okay.
On a day-to-day basis with flying and stuff. I wanted to prove to them that even though there's a female up here, you're not going to know. So it's gotten to the point now that when on our 737, when we go to Miami, if it's a gusty day, and the flight deck is open, because sometimes we'll open the flight deck and passengers are getting off the airplane, they'll knock on the door and they're like, hey, Cap, I just want to tell you, nice landing. And the biggest kick is when the captain turns around and goes, oh no, that was my first officer. She flew you guys in. So it's that level of achievement that I've set for myself as well too, because honey, if I can perform like a captain standard and you don't know who is flying, that means that we're getting somewhere.
Right.
So that's one of the achievements that I've set out for myself.
Wow. I think that's amazing what you just said, because I spend quite a bit of time speaking not only on the show, but just in my entire life and just whatever platform that I'll have about how tough women are on each other. Mm-hmm. And I think that is the part where we really need to see the opportunity for us to change our behavior as well. And,
I agree.
And not think it's okay to make a snide remark or not think it's okay to make a joke, or to actually believe what you just said. And because even with the political kind of the political world, and that was brought up at the brunch as well, about how many representatives there have ever been. It's like, listen, there have been people running though. Like at the end of the day, if you continue to choose to not choose a woman, then that would be the result at all times. And I said yesterday or the day before, I thought it was very funny that the discussions about choosing women, should we just choose a woman because she's a woman? I mean, why should we just choose a woman because she's a woman to represent the country? I'm like, well, we've been choosing men because they're men.
Exactly, right. See it?
I don't think we've been doing such good due diligence all the time in that. So yeah, let me give her a chance.
Right.
Let me see how she does.
Exactly.
She's a mom. She's a professional. She's kicked butt in a lot of areas.
We wear many hats.
Give her a chance.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think that is just like, it's just mind-boggling, and it's something that we need to our theme probably should be to choose to challenge ourselves, to behave, to support each other, because that is funny, because I'm expecting you to tell me, oh my goodness, let me tell you, the guys are like, patting each other in the back and winking, like, whatever, let's see what she's going to do. And that's not what you're saying.
It wasn't that. Like, that was one of the things I was completely shocked. Because I went in and I'm like, okay, well, then this is probably what's going to be. I'm going to have some kind of difficulty with my male counterparts. And it's like, no, for the most part, most of the guys are like, well, you fly the airplane pretty well. You do, do your thing. And then, so then you get the females and it's like, oh, you fly it. Okay.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. And that's good. So you're right. So you're challenged to prove yourself and to say, all right, to prove that you don't have to say that again, that you yourself can think, oh, that was a foolish thing for me to say. Oh, I really believe that she wasn't going to do it right. Like, so that's good. So you're representing, which is what's necessary. So tell me about the different tiers of your profession. So you said you're a first officer now,
right?
Is that what did you start as?
So all starting points for commercial flights, you start as a first officer. So you're a co-pilot. So that also means that you fly the airplane as well too. A lot of people think, oh, you don't fly the airplane. We do. It's you're basically a captain in training.
Okay.
So the amount of hours that you put in, the amount of years that you put in, ultimately you then upgrade to captain on any specific aircraft. And then you're now the person who's in control of it. So and when I say control, it's like if a captain has to make a decision to do an emergency landing or to offload a passenger or to delay a flight or whatnot, that's what that person's authority does. So the first officer, you can't do that, but with the captain, you can. So it's their signature in the logbook. All legal documents are signed by that person. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are the requirements then to be a captain? Is it amount of hours?
Yeah.
Like flight hours?
Yeah. It varies also on the different types of aircraft. Obviously for the Twin Otter, I think it was 2,500 hours to go captain on the Twin Otter. On the 737, I think it's 3,500 or more as well too. And you also have to have another certificate that we call an ATP, which is an airline transport pilot license.
Okay.
Gets a little technical there, but it's basically the highest level of certification as a pilot you can get. And that's for the 737. But usually it varies on the hours and the amount of time that you have on that specific airplane.
Yeah. Do you ever pinch yourself? Like, I'm just looking at you. You look like a little girl, which is amazing. That's going to work for you. Trust me. It's not a criticism. I went through it myself, right? So that's lucky you.
Go me.
Yeah. Good genes. But do you ever pinch yourself to think that you're in this really big grown-up world? I had a brain surgeon on Monday, and so we were laughing about, it's not brain surgery. We're like, oh, hold on, you're a brain surgeon. So I thought it was quite funny. But just, looking at somebody like yourself, that you look very young, but you've been in this field 11 years. So that would mean that you're in your 30s, early 30s. And so you're not a little girl, but do you pinch yourself?
Not so much with the pilot thing. I guess it's just second nature. It's just something that I've just walked into, and it's just like year after year, you're still there, and it hasn't really occurred to me like, oh, look at you, you're doing something. When I do pinch myself is if I forget to pay a CUC bill. or stuff like that.
Because you're so busy
And
piloting.
and then it's like I forgot I'm an adult. I need to take care of these things.
Okay.
Can't have my mom tell me these things.
Right.
That's usually where that bleeds off.
Oh, your
into,
mom
but
tells you too, because my
she's
mom
like, remember to
texts
pay
me.
your light bill, or
Yeah.
remember to pay Logic, or something like that. I'm like, yeah,
But I'm being a pilot, mother.
I can't have time for
I'm
that.
kind of busy. Yeah, I don't have any lights though right now. So
Yeah, but I've never really walked into the whole pilot thing and like pinched myself and said, well, you're doing stuff. That doesn't really occur to me. I probably will now that you've pointed it out to me
okay.
at some point. I'll let you know when I do.
Yeah, all right.
Okay.
So who's your inspiration? Who's inspired you? Who motivates you?
Oh, I have like a list of people. Most of them, believe it or not, are on Instagram. Other airline pilots that are from around the world as well too, because we're also talking about not being closed-minded when it comes to Cayman. It's other people that I've seen throughout the years do stuff. There's been a few female pilots that fly for Ryanair that are captains there. I've been talking to them, also like a little mini digital mentorship, especially more so now during COVID than what it was before. There's a couple of guys as well too, also on Instagram. Some of my male counterparts as well too that I work with at Cayman Airways. I won't call names because they're going to get really jealous and then we're going to have a cat fight. So,
right.
But if you're listening, just know that you all are my mentors as well too.
Well, that's amazing. That's really amazing. You brought your mom along.
I did.
And so that would mean to me that you're actually really close to her.
She's my best friend.
Oh, look at that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're an only child?
From my mom, yes.
Okay. All right. So I guess she was really behind you as well, like pushing you
I think she
supporting
was
you.
more terrified at the thought of me being a pilot than anything else.
Really?
At the very beginning, yes. Because
wow.
when I told her, I'm like, I want to do this. This is something I want to do. And at one point in the pilot training, there's a part that's called a solo, where you actually have to fly in a small aircraft. It's like a 4-seater airplane, almost about the size of like a truck, basically. Okay. And you have to fly by yourself. So after a while of doing your flight lessons, your instructor will sign you off and say, okay, go out there, go fly, go do your thing for about an hour and a half, and then come back to the field. And like when I told her that I had to go fly by myself, she was like, they're going to let you in the airplane by yourself? Where are you going to go? Who are you going to talk to? Is there not a pilot on the airplane? Do I have to what do I have to do? Do I have to pray? Do I have to send like a missing person's report, whatever? Can you take me on it? Can you FaceTime me while you're doing this?
Who's gonna know if something happens?
How am
to
I
you?
gonna know where you are?
Yeah.
So, but she's such a trooper, and she's just somebody who's been just constantly rooted and grounded in prayer as well. So she's really, really big in church and whatnot, and she's just been asking God for guidance and praying with me even when I needed some uplifting as well too.
Yeah. She kept you prayed up.
She kept me covered.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I say that. We cover our children.
Yes.
It's prayer.
Yes, exactly.
And just on that subject, just when I look at you and I see other young people like yourself, as well as my own, right? Mm-hmm. I realize that the magnitude of work that's been put into you cannot go unmentioned, right? Because you guys don't just appear amazing. Like, you were born with this clean slate and just full of all of this, potential and everything else. And it's the adults in your life that are putting the hard work in to ensure that you're able to put the hard work in when it's your time.
This is true.
And it's a partnership. And so parents that are listening to this show, I always want to encourage them to stay with your kids, stay by their side, keep prayed up, keep covering them, but put the hard work in.
Right.
Know where they are, know what they're doing, talk to them about their plans, find out what they want, what they like. And, know their friends, know all that stuff, and just keep them very close to you, because all that you put in is what you're going to get out. And so anything that you put in that's not so good, you might get that back out. So you want to make sure, that you're putting the good stuff in. And I always say my kids are like, come on, they're my friends, right? They're my peeps, man. So, put that work in and you will get the results of it. You sit before me as a result of all that your mom and dad and your community has put into you. And we're so proud of you. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I'm going to read another little quote that I found. I'm encouraging all young Caymanians to go out there and do what they want. This is from you. Follow your dreams, follow your passion, no matter what anyone says. If anyone says you can't do something because you're too young or because of your gender, I say ignore them and follow your passion. Now, you said that probably at 20 years old.
Yes, I did.
Can you imagine?
I know, right?
You said that at 20. No matter if you're too young or your gender, it doesn't matter. I say, Giselah Ebanks said at 20, I say, ignore them and follow your passion.
Do your thing. Yes.
And you did that.
Yes, ma'am.
And so you're living that dream. You're living that life that you've created, because we have the ability to create our dreams. We have the ability to create our lives and live in them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so every single thing that you do every day is towards that life that you want. So what you're doing right now, if it's not towards the life that you want, you need to stop it.
Mm-hmm. You got to start doing something that you want to do, and it put it out.
That's right.
Put
That's
what you
right.
want out.
And every, like I said before, every mickle make a muckle.
Uh-huh.
Right? one cocoa fill basket.
Uh-huh. Every little bit counts. Baby
Every
steps
little-
will get you where you need to go.
That's right. Yeah, Martin Luther King said you might not see the staircase, the whole staircase, but you see the first stair, put your foot on it and keep
Right.
moving.
Exactly.
Right. So what's next for Giselah Ebanks?
So we are gonna pray and hope that tourism makes an upcoming, and then we can start getting some movement, and then hopefully we can make captain on the 737. So that's another goal that I'm working towards.
How close are you?
I want to say a couple of years, maybe 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So
All right.
maybe even earlier, depends on how movement goes on, but that's a goal right now.
All right. So you're there for the long haul.
I'll
Yeah.
tough it out. Yeah.
Yeah. And Cayman Airways can depend on us seeing you in that cockpit.
Most definitely, as long as they're around.
Wow. That is so great. That is really great, because we want to keep the talent here too.
Mhm.
So we want you to spread your wings, literally and figuratively, but to also just remain on the ground
Right.
and doing great things.
We still
Thank
got to
you.
represent Cap. That's what we
Absolutely.
do.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon.
Thank you for having me, Catherine.
That was Giselah Ebanks. Thank you all so much for joining me this afternoon to share in that story. And it was streamed on Facebook, so you can go to Straight Talk Drive at 5 or the Star 92.7 page on Facebook or Instagram, and you can go ahead and share this around with people and let them be inspired and motivated by this young, amazing, beautiful, lovely young Caymanian that is doing great things in her country. So when people say Caymanians are this, that, and the other, say, oh, stop talking foolishness. So you believe in that? Don't believe the foolishness, because I know for sure that's not so. So, just break up those myths, and we're going to keep on moving, right? Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. I will talk with you guys again on Monday. You have a great Friday when it comes, and a great weekend. Take care. Here they go.